So, obviously lately the channel has had a slight focus on Xbox videos for certain obvious reasons. But I have been waiting for some more news from Sony to be able to talk some more about the PS5, and this morning they dropped a video showing a teardown of the PS5. I have not watched this video yet, I have just seen the thumbnail for it, so I'm gonna watch it right now and just react. Do not try this at home. Risk of exposure to laser radiation, electrical shock, or other injury. I'm probably gonna end up trying this at home. Damn my inability to immediately picture what millimeters are in real space because I grew up in America where we rely on inches, and it's awful. I like the claim that it's a big improvement in quietness. That was a lot of the early preview stuff, so I want that, because while I love my PS4 Pro, it is a jet engine in my living room. Got two USB-As on the back. This is all stuff that we kind of read in spec sheets before. Ethernet port, HDMI, power. I like that we're keeping that style AC connector. We're not doing the big one. And then, yeah, those are the air vents that are between. Cool. Yeah, so we got all the air vents on the back, as opposed to the Xbox relying on the top. Makes sense. It's more traditional. So you can unscrew that if you want to take off that base. Which, I mean, it makes it secure. It's going to be a little annoying if you ever want to, like, switch rotations often. Oh, I like that. I like that I can store the screw away, because I would absolutely lose that screw if that was not an option otherwise. Yeah, that screw would be gone immediately. Okay, that's a cool little idea. I like that. You can see the little kind of etchings on the inside. They did that a little bit with some of the other PlayStation systems. We just have the button symbols kind of just etched in places. The thing is massive sideways. I was originally thinking I'd want to have that system sideways, but seeing it is... It's like this gigantic triple stuffed inside out Oreo. Like it's just, it's huge. Okay, yeah, that seems pretty standard. Just kind of latches in there. Okay, and this is the physical version, because there's the disc slot right there. Fan. Yeah, so it's cooling off both sides of the board and shooting out of the vents. Was it just me, or did we have a quick second of seeing the disc reader and then it's just gone, man? Oh no, there it is, okay. Yes. So that's just gone, and that's why it has a little extra hump on the regular physical. The all digital doesn't have that, but I like sticking with physical, so I'm gonna have it. Future storage expansion. That's a decent bit of work to get there to expand the storage. With the PS4, it was just a little back thing you popped open and that was it. This you have to like take off the base, take off the side. It doesn't look like super hard to do, but it's a lot of steps. That's the kind of stuff that scares me the most, is the just pull it out. Like, undo a screw? Cool. Undo like a little switch? Makes sense. Just rip the thing off. That's the stuff that scares me in teardowns. Yeah, it's all the snapping things that scare me. Because it's like, that was supposed to snap out, right? Okay, yeah, there's the Blu-ray drive. Oh, that's interesting. They want to insulate the noise from the drive spin. I'm curious how that's going to actually sound in practice, because not that I'm running discs like super often, but you would definitely hear it when it was going on the PS4. Wi-Fi 6, that is worth noting, is something that the PS5 supports that the Xbox doesn't. God, that is a giant motherboard. I mean, no wonder the system is so huge. Like, just the board itself is basically that whole interior. With room for the fans, which makes sense. Yeah, that's the CPU. We've already kind of gotten the lowdown on what it does performance-wise. Yeah, so it is a flat out 825 gigabyte SSD, which we did already hear rumors about how much speed is, or how much space is going to get taken up by just the internal OS. I wish it was a little bigger, but we'll see how it is in practice. That speed is nice, though. That's cool. Giving me Terminator vibes, but it's cool. Oh, that is super cool looking. That is a massive heatsink. Oh my god. I mean, that explains the thickness of the system. Yeah, I mean, this thing has all the things to keep it running cool. 350-watt power supply. That is so many pieces when you see it laid out. That's a lot going on. So, a few immediate takeaways from watching that video. Some things I kind of knew and kind of expected, other things that were complete surprises. First off, just as far as tearing the unit down, it's a lot of work. Obviously, it's not something that everyone needs to do, is tear down their system, but there are two specific things that I noticed. One, taking off the base stand to switch orientation seems a little much. I really appreciate the way that you can store the screw, because I would absolutely lose those pieces otherwise. But still, that seems pretty excessive. Then again, most people, if they find the setup they want to use, they're going to leave it that way. However, the extra work needed to be able to access where you need to do the expandable storage is kind of annoying to me. The PS4 Pro and PS4 line entirely kept it very simple. It was just that little back part that you popped off, slid in, done and done. This looks much more involved, and considering the size of the SSD it comes with at 825, people are more than likely going to really want to expand that down the line, especially because you can't rely on external sources to increase your space. So that's a little frustrating. However, something that we did see on the inside that I thought was super cool and did not expect to see were those little vacuum catch holes to be able to clean out dust from the system. That is awesome, because dust buildup is really the thing that eventually causes your system to have heating problems. It's also why eventually you start to hear the fans kick up a lot louder than they were when you first bought the system in the first place. So giving people a way to actually easily access and clean those holes out is super cool. Did not mean that pun. Now, of course, on the subject of cleaning out dust and heat production, one of the things that people are really hoping to learn about the PS5 is whether or not it's going to be quiet compared to the PS4, and it sounds like Sony is doing everything they can to make sure the system just stays nice and cool in the first place and doesn't have to kick the fans into overdrive. It has the dual fan system on both sides of the board to help push out the heat. It's got a gigantic heatsink, and as they mentioned in the video, they have spent years developing liquid metal to keep the processor running cooler. On the subject too of the system running nice and quiet, something else they pointed out that I thought was really neat was that the Blu-ray drive for the physical version of the system has a fully insulated Blu-ray drive. So what that should mean is that when you're running games off the disc, and it's going to be spinning that disc constantly for doing things like loading anything that needs to be done in game, doing the initial install, so on and so forth, that should be reducing the noise that is produced by the disc. A lot of games tend to rely on just doing full installs to the SSD now, so it's not going to be spinning super often, but in the times that it needs to, that's going to be nice to really make sure that it just keeps any additional noise to a minimum. Something too that I was really happy to see was how easy it was to remove those side panel things for two reasons. One, I am a little bit worried about whether or not the edges on those will break off because of how thin the plastic is, so being able to replace that will be nice. And two, I'm really curious if there's going to be any kind of move for doing like special edition side plates that you can buy on their own to swap out and customize your PS5 rather than having to necessarily have to buy, you know, a whole new system every time a special edition is released. Kind of like the old Xbox 360 faceplates, but actually executed, I think, even better because the faceplate just did that front part and you still have the same sides in your system, whereas this replaces pretty much all the main part of it and will still maintain an overall good-looking aesthetic. And while it is something we already knew about, just to reiterate one kind of part of the internal specs that I think is nice that they highlighted, is that compared to the Series X, one thing the system has that the Series X doesn't is that its Wi-Fi does support Wi-Fi 6, which if you have a more recent router that supports it, is going to give you better Wi-Fi performance. If you plan to hardwire either system in with Ethernet, doesn't matter. Also, what we had on spec sheets before, we now have actually been able to see the back of the system, reconfirming that as far as ports go, it's a similar setup to the Series X as far as having 3 USB-A ports, 1 in the front, 2 in the back, Ethernet port, HDMI, power. However, like we've seen on the front, the PS5 does also have that additional USB-C port, which is missing on the Series X. So overall, that was a cool little surprise to have this morning. I mean, the teardown is definitely something that takes a good bit of work, but actually seeing the makeup of the system, you know, I think one of the things that people have been a little worried about lately is that PlayStation has been very quiet relative to Xbox. I mean, again, obviously I've been able to actually show a preview unit of the Xbox, while PlayStation it's been a little more quiet, but this is additional news that I'm really glad they're starting to drop, and I'm looking forward to hopefully learning even more about the system over the next couple weeks as we get closer to the launch. While I know the PlayStation coverage has been a little slim lately, I am planning on doing more videos, especially once the system is released and I get my hands on it, and do a lot more kind of in-depth reviews and comparisons, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on all those videos in the future.